clothes back on, Tom.
I'm reading a book. Hey, good book, by the way. The Seat of the Soul. It's quite new.
Who's the author?
Came out, Gary Zukov, who wrote The Dancing Woolly Masters, which I've championed for a long time as a science book, kind of science overlaid into, or interlaced into spirituality, or spirituality interlaced into science. In this book I was just reading, it's just a question. We're going to try to talk into reincarnation, but we'll start here because it has a question here that I kind of caught my eye. And it says, does non-physical reality exist? Well, if you're watching this tape, hopefully you have some inkling that there is a feasible or possibility non-physical reality to this thing we call the human condition. And this book also deals with the five sensory personality, which is basically all of us. But they're segmenting the fact that a lot of people, scientists, atheists, self-proclaimed atheists, because I don't believe there really is an atheist. I haven't met any yet. I've met a lot of people
Think they are.
yeah, think that they are, claim that they are, and I've never met a real one yet. But at any rate, they typically, using just their five senses, like prove it to me, and it can't exist if you can't prove it, and vice versa. So this gives a question, in regards to the question, does non-physical reality exist? Says proof of non-physical reality does not exist in the dimension of the rational, that the rational mind seeks it. Therefore, when you ask from the perspective of a five-sensory personality, does non-physical reality exist? What you really are asking is, if I cannot prove the existence of non-physical reality, do I decide that it is nonsensical? Do I decide that there is no answer, or do I expand myself to the level at which the answer can be given? And
So you are your own limitation.
Well, yeah, that's very true. And we're going to attempt to talk into reincarnation, make an attempt anyway. And one of the problems is that you're dealing with a non-physical reality. Now, the mechanics of reincarnation, in that if any of that is true, well, that means that each of us, paying attention now, hearing this tape, is in an incarnation. So from that perspective, we are here, and this is what we call reality. Can we dare assume or prove or disprove the existence of a reality that we have no measurements for? There's no
recollection, no conscious memory of.
No provable recollection.
Right, because sometimes we have the memories and wonder where they come from.
And of course, my famous cautions of past life regression toward getting an answer of reincarnation is that be awfully careful that the regression that you are doing is not simply, and I say, as opposed to more intensively, just simply a clairvoyant functioning of another person, place, thing, or time that could be construed as a previous incarnation. Because all of the measurements that you will gain from a past life regression acting only clairvoyantly is identical to a bona fide past life regression.
Okay, so what you're saying, if I'm trying, because this is really important to me, doing regressions, is that if the hypnotist or the person guiding someone back isn't careful, the person could pick up on universal knowledge, which could be anybody's lifetime.
Yes, right.
Rather than on their particular life's remembrances.
And the fact that they are functioning clairvoyantly, in the true sense of the word, that they are being in the eyes of King George, that they are feeling what King George felt, that they are knowing intimate personal details, that they can see the secret passageway, the secret mistress, things that are both provable but are rare in history and non-provable in history but are assuredly known by the person experiencing that. That can be done clairvoyantly.
So you wouldn't have had to have been that person to remember some of that person's life.
Coming back from a past life regression or being on a conscious level, having had a past life regression, you might very well have gone into a past life of yours. If it be totally or characteristically, in other words, that you have gained a characteristic from this previous lifetime or this person of a previous lifetime, it might very well be. But the words that you will come back saying, the sentences and the proof that many people use as proof of reincarnation or past life regression, or in fact that it was my past life or your past life, the sentence that they say are not proof at all. They're an inclination that there is a possibility of that. So we're back to what can we prove and what can we disprove. And one of the problems that we have a tendency to do is either sit around and wait and wish and read books and wait for somebody to tell us, such as me trying to tell you right now, of the existence of this thing called reincarnation, when in fact we, each of us individually, either have not had the opportunity or simply are not, for any number of excuses or no excuse at all, expanding our mind, expanding our ability to see knowledge, to gain knowledge, in a level or a capacity at which that level, that information will be explainable or seeable. Difficult subject. Well,
if we go right back to, say, most of us that are viewing this film were probably brought up in the Christian faith, where reincarnation is not acceptable, or it's just beginning to expand to open the possibilities.
Yeah, I have to interrupt because in Catholicism, in the Vatican, there are voluminous papers and scriptures and things like that on reincarnation.
That's what I was alluding to. I know in Shirley MacLaine's book, she said that there was a conscious effort in
politics, politics.
Yeah, that took all reincarnational information out of the Bible.
A little more power, a little more man-made power, a little more control of the masses.
That was the reason.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, sad as it might be for a spiritual conversation, that is the reality of the politics of so many churches, so many religions. That
if you have more than one lifetime to work out your problems, you may not have to go to your minister or priest.
That's another tremendous fallacy on the part of people's attitude who seem to think, or in fact do, have a recognition or an understanding, or let's just leave it as a fervent belief regarding reincarnation, that, oh well, since I've come from many lifetimes and I have many lifetimes to go, if I screw this time up, I'll have another chance. And that is invalid because that's totally disregarding the fact that life is precious. Any life, any segment of life. And one of the things that I would wish for anybody to do, and again I have to refer to that book, The Seat of the Soul, because it has a chapter on reverence. And for any of us to get in a conversation like this, we should be at our individual highest level of reverence for life. Reverence in general. Not just the dictionary definition either, but a true reverence for any aspect of life. For instance, a dialogue that I might talk about is reincarnation of a characteristic as opposed to an entire personality, as opposed to an entire soul. Now we'll have to use those terms. So I think I'll start out by giving a quick definition of a characteristic. Doesn't need much of a definition. In other words, I have a characteristic of being, something, overbearing, obnoxious,
controlling,
in control,